You're listening to the DIY Recording Guys podcast, your one-stop information source for DIY music production, with your hosts, Vadim and Benjamin Hall.
Hey, it's Vadim from DIY Recording Guys with a special bonus episode today. In this week's episode, which was episode 7, we talked a lot about the importance of arrangement and how a good arrangement can affect your end result. I mentioned that there's a lot we kind of attribute to being studio magic that happens in the mix, but a lot of the things that we're used to hearing and that we enjoy hearing are actually arrangement results. So I'm going to go through a little demonstration here to show you one element of that. In the episode, you may remember Ben and I mentioned pop vocals and how pop vocals, that kind of massive vocal sound we're used to hearing in pop songs, is really a result of a lot of different layers being stacked on top of each other. And this kind of makes sense. In order to understand why it makes sense, we're going to look at a metal example, right? Because metal is kind of like nature's pop music. You heard that here first. You can use that quote, but you have to attribute it to me. So if you check out this guitar riff, which I hastily recorded here. So it sounds kind of mean, but it's coming all down the middle of our stereo channel. So if you're listening in headphones, it kind of sounds like it's coming from the middle of your head, right? Rather than out from the sides. So I'm going to play that again, and then I'm going to play that same riff or that same progression, but slightly differently, and we'll talk about what the big differences are. Versus this. So a big difference there, right? One of the biggest things you hear is that now the guitar is coming from the sides of the stereo channel or the stereo field, right? It's coming from kind of far left and far right. The big difference in practice there was that, first of all, instead of playing just a single note riff, I'm playing chords, like power chords, right? The greatest of all chords. So I'm playing power chords, which adds some harmony parts. You can think of it that way. Because you have the root note, and then you have the fifth, and then the octave. That's kind of what a power chord is. And then I also played the part twice, which is called double tracking. So I played the same part twice, and then I panned one side to the left, one side to the right. So we instantly get a much bigger, angrier sounding riff. Now, they both have their place, right? Both types of arrangements have their place. But if we're going for that large sound, the double tracking, that second option, is going to be much more effective. Listen one more time here. Versus this. All right, so you might be asking yourself, how in the world is this applicable to pop vocals? Well, the concept is really the same. You could think of that last clip I played as the mono clip as kind of being a single sung part, right? That's kind of a melody, and you could picture a singer singing a melody. And a singer kind of by default can only sing one note, right? You have to record the harmonies on top of that. So if you have a melody, you can do the same type of layering trick. You can make chords out of the melody, and you can create those same types of layers and pan effects. So let's try this with a vocal now. And this is kind of a pop vocal sound. It does have a little bit of reverb and delay on it, but other than that, it's as recorded. So here's the main vocal line.
Wait high up on top of the tallest mountain, all we see we shall call our own.
Okay, sounds good, but again, it's just that single vocal part. Now, the first thing we can do to make it bigger is record that same exact part, just like we did double tracking with the guitar. We're going to record that same part actually 2 more times, and we're going to pan one to the left and one to the right. So we're going to get this kind of effect.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain.
All right, so it's the same notes as our main vocal line, but we've recorded it twice and panned one to the left and one to the right. So if you stack that on top of the original vocal line, you get this.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain.
That's already starting to sound bigger, and we haven't even added any harmony parts yet. That's all the same notes being sung. All right, so now let's add a harmony part. With the harmony parts, it's the same concept. You record them twice, and if you pan them to the left and to the right, you can start building almost like a guitar chord. So here's a harmony part.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain.
So let's stack that on top of our other 2 layers.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain.
All right, that's starting to sound pretty good right there. And the way you do this, by the way, is if you have a main vocal line, just grab a keyboard or a MIDI controller or a guitar. I like to use guitar because that's kind of my primary instrument and I'm most comfortable picking stuff out on it. And you can come up with these additional harmony parts, and then the vocalist can learn them and sing them. So we're going to add one more harmony part. And again, we're going to have that harmony part sung 2 times, once from the left side, from the left channel, once from the right channel.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain.
And you can hear there's some discrepancies between the left and right channel. You really want to try to get these as absolutely tight as you can, because just like a guitar performance, the tighter they are, the more that singer is able to kind of replicate the little rhythmic things, the more the illusion of this huge, massive wall of sound is going to be. So here's what it sounds like with all of those layers together.
Way high up on top of the tallest mountain. All we see we shall call our own.
All right, so that's pretty good. And you can go crazy with this. You can add even more layers, and at some point you probably reach diminishing returns. But what's interesting is I'm gonna play the full mix, and you'll hear that in the mix, if you hadn't just gone through this exercise, you would have to kind of listen very, very carefully to even pick out those harmony parts. You hear what seems just like a massive vocal sound, which is what we're used to hearing, almost without realizing that there's actually other harmony parts baked in there, which is really interesting effect. So here's what it sounds like with the full mix. So you could actually hear at the end there's even an additional vocal layer. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, that also fly part has an even additional harmony part. So yeah, that's the trick. That's the biggest thing about getting a huge pop vocal sound, is doing layers, double tracking those layers and harmony parts, and making sure you have as tight a vocal performance as possible. And that's tight both rhythmically and tonally, right? Because kind of, again, picture like one of those magic eye drawings, right? Where you can kind of get a 3D image from 2D images, right? And it's easy to break that illusion. Well, we don't want to break the illusion of this massive wall of sound. And the way to keep that illusion going strong. I hate using the term illusion, but that's kind of what it is. The way to keep that going is by having really tight performances. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's really it for this little demo. But if you're into this sort of thing, leave us a note. on the Facebook group or shoot us an email at diyrecordingguys@gmail.com. If you have anything specific you'd like to see demonstrated, again, shoot us a note. We'll do more of these if people are into them. They do take a bit of work to set up, but we're happy to do them if they add value to you guys. All right. Well, until next week, this is Vadim on this bonus episode reminding you to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Take care. See you soon. If you're enjoying the podcast, take a minute to leave a rating wherever you like to listen to it, or share it with your friends on social media. Also, Benjamin and I are working engineers, and we love helping people turn ideas into finished productions. So if you're interested in working with one of us, or just want to discuss a project you're working on, reach out. You can find my work at calmfrogrecording.com, get me on Instagram at calmfrogrecording, or shoot me an email, vk@calmfrogrecording.com. And you can check Benjamin's work out at dreamloudstudio.com. Hit him up on Instagram at dreamloudstudio, or by email, ben@dreamloudstudio.com. And finally, join our Facebook group to engage with a whole group of friendly, like-minded people who are interested in DIY recording. Just search for DIY Recording Guys on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening and for your continued support. I'll see you next week.